Imagine you are feeling unwell and you have a stomach bug and you have gripes and probably the runs, and you decide to go to the doctor. And the doctor takes one look at you and says, "Oh, you're not feeling good, right? Okay, I know what the problem is," and proceeds to give you meds for a headache or maybe a cold without asking you what your symptoms are, when it started, how long it's been for. I mean, that's definitely not going to give you any relief. That leads me to this statement that the first step to finding the right solution to a problem is to accurately identify what that problem is. Now, what has that got to do with being unequally yoked, you might say? What I have found with a lot of Christian wives I've spoken with and interacted with is they believe that the struggles they are having in their marriage is simply because of the unequal yoke, the spiritual mismatch. What if I tell you that the spiritual mismatch is not the biggest problem in your marriage? How could I say that? What can be more important than being spiritually aligned? I'm with you, I agree, but hear my heart out. Being equally yoked and spiritually aligned is the most important desire we should have, but it's not the biggest problem for us to work at. Why can it be the most important but not the most important to work at, or the biggest issue to work at? Because the salvation issue is not for us, it's not for you, it's not for me to work on. That is God's work. Nonetheless, there are things that we can do to make our marriages thrive rather than survive. Focusing solely on the spiritual mismatch is actually preventing you from looking at solvable issues that can actually transform your marriage. Yes, the spiritual mismatch has an impact. It is a factor, no question. I've been there, done that. I've walked the journey for many years. So I know it can bring challenges, unique challenges that I don't need to go into. You know them already. But those are things that we can get through even as we look at solvable issues. So today we want to look at what those solvable issues are and how we can actually move forward on those issues. So if this message resonates, make sure you like the video, subscribe to my channel, and share it with another wife who needs this encouragement. So the Bible has told us clearly in 1 Corinthians 7:13-14 that if the unbelieving spouse is willing to stay, the believing spouse should stay, because you bring holiness and sanctification into the marriage. And 1 Peter 3:1-4 also tells us that the believing spouse may win the spouse over by their gentle and quiet spirit. So there is a way of living in our marriages that the Bible itself tells us can make our marriages ministry ground, fertile ground for God to do his work. So the spiritual mismatch is real, but here is the key question. The issues you are going through, are they issues that you would still need to work on if both of you were spiritually matched? Most of the times, the answer is yes. And these are basic issues. Communication, for a start, is a big issue. How are we communicating? Are we communicating in a manner that engenders safe and open communication? Are we communicating from a place of condescension to your spouse, thinking because he's not a Christian, he can't have any wisdom, he can't have anything to say that makes sense that you might want to listen to? Are we communicating in a way to understand, or are we communicating in a way to just prove our point? Are we communicating our needs clearly enough? Are we critical in our communication? Are we judgmental, or do we have empathy, compassion on trying to see things from the other perspective? That is definitely something within our control, which can impact tremendously the atmosphere in our marriage. Communication is a key factor in any relationship, whether both of you are believers, whether you are unequally yoked, whether both are unbelievers. The way we communicate, the way we present ourselves, our tone, our body language, the timing of our conversation, all those things matter seriously how our marriage grows or doesn't grow. So let's look at how we can build emotional connection as well. A lack of emotional intimacy can create distance, even in marriages where both are, matched, either unbelievers or believers. If you don't actively work to build connection by doing things together, sharing your values together, sharing activities, take an active interest in what concerns your spouse. What's going on in his place of work? Show an interest. When they see that you are actually committed to them and to the marriage and to the welfare in the marriage, they will open up. Take an interest in the things that they like. Sports, for example. It doesn't have to be something that you are also interested in. That's what sacrificial love is about. Let's build emotional connection. There's no question that there are some activities you were involved in before, but now that you are in Christ, if you came into, Christ after marriage, there are some things you won't do anymore. But it cannot be that there is nothing that you can share. Is it things to do with the children? If you have children, things to do with, taking them out, their school activities, sharing homework with them, build friendship and shared experiences. This can significantly strengthen your marriage. The first goal of marriage is companionship, because God says it is not good for man to be alone. I will create for him a helpmeet, a friend, a partner. The Bible tells us in Ecclesiastes that two are better than one. When one falls, the other will help him up. So how much of a companion and friend are you to your spouse? Everything is not based on the Bible. There are things you can laugh together about. There are things you can share. Don't rob your spouse of that. Companionship is one of the things that God has put you in his life for. How about respect? Men crave respect. Whilst women crave love, men thrive on respect. You can still respect your spouse. The fact that you don't share your faith doesn't erode every other thing that he might be bringing to the home. I've spoken to a lot of wives who say, my husband is a good man. He's a good father to our children. He's a good provider. He's a hard worker. Respect him. He is still the head of the home. God, who said you shouldn't leave the marriage, has not changed the order of the man being the head of the home. And where he is not meeting your expectation, pray for him that God will grant him the grace. Being critical and condemning and judgmental is not going to build the marriage, and it's not going to make him a Christian either. So let's respect him. Let's, express our own opinion in a way that says, I hear you and I see what you're saying. This is what I think, not insisting on our own point of view. There are many things that our spouses can still weigh in, and it will make sense. I've experienced it where I had the mindset of doing something, but my husband felt differently, and I submitted to what he said, and it turned out to be the right decision for our daughter. So let's not think we have, sole access to wisdom. God can still speak through our spouse, especially if we consistently stand in the gap and pray that God will help them to lead us properly and correctly. Scripture encourages us to show respect to our husbands, and we should always appreciate whatever they do right. Don't take it for granted. I can tell you there are many wives that are not experiencing those things that your spouse is doing that you are taking for granted. Appreciate whatever he does that is working for the family. If it is for the children's good, appreciate him. If he does something for you, appreciate. Appreciation makes people want to do more. It fosters goodwill and connection regardless of spiritual alignment. And when we show respect and understanding for their point of view, it will automatically cause them to also give respect to our own point of view. Let's release unrealistic expectations as well. That's another thing that puts pressure in our marriages. Sometimes we expect from our spouses things that they just don't have the capacity to deliver. So we might desire it. It might be something we expected from our marriage, but look at the spouse that you have. Is this something within his own capability? We need to acknowledge their own, values, how they've been raised, what they've been exposed to. So let's not, expect our spouses to fulfill roles or responsibilities that might not align with their own beliefs. We have to be ready to adjust our expectations to bring greater peace and understanding. And in all this, we need to work on our own personal growth. I hear a lot of women saying, I'm being forced to lead, he's supposed to lead. He's the head of the home. It doesn't mean he has to lead spiritually. Remember the story of Deborah in Judges chapter 4. The army commander was supposed to lead the army into war, but he refused. And Deborah said, okay, I'll go with you. So sometimes for a season, God has given us the grace and the ability to lead our families. Let's do it joyfully and gladly for that season, so that we continue to bring holiness to our homes, as the Bible has already said of us. So develop your personal spiritual disciplines. Study the word, keep praying, worship God, honor him, do your part. Bring the fruit of the Spirit in Galatians 5:22 to bear, and that will grow yourself, your spirit, and it will help you in your responses to things going on. You won't be responding in the flesh because you are built up by yourself. As you grow, the atmosphere of your relationship often changes as well because of the way you'll be responding. So let's shift our focus from what we cannot change to what we can influence. When we do this, everything begins to change. So instead of saying my marriage will continue to struggle because of this unequal yoke, look at what you can actually influence. You have the power to do these things. This mindset empowers you to take proactive steps towards transformation, and this opens the door for God to work in ways that you may not have imagined. So identify solvable issues, invest in improving communication, practice active listening and expressing, your needs with clarity and kindness, not with, pressure and insisting on your own position. Cultivate emotional connection by engaging in shared activities and prioritize quality time together. Sit with him to enjoy what he enjoys within limits, of course. I'm not saying get into, sinful habits. Just tell him quietly, gently, I'm so sorry. I would love to spend time with you, but I can't, participate in this activity. Please bear with me. Say it gently and kindly, and that will break down any pressure or any resistance from him. Demonstrate respect and appreciation. Regularly acknowledge your husband's strengths and contributions. Don't take anything for granted. Build yourself up. Like I said, get into community where you can be encouraged and built up. Remember that many thriving marriages exist despite spiritual differences. And this is because they are working on things that are within their control. Your situation is not without hope, and God is not limited by your circumstances. He asked us to stay, not as a punishment, but because He can still use your marriage as a good ground to minister to your spouse. Model Christ. Make your faith attractive and let them want to know more about this faith that has given them such a good spouse. Being unequally yoked has an impact and may shape the journey, but it doesn't have to define every aspect of it. With God's wisdom and your intentional actions, a joyful and fulfilling, thriving marriage is possible right where you are. So, like I said earlier on, the first step is to correctly identify what is actually going on, what you can do, and this can transform your marriage and position you to embrace the joys in your marriage. If this video encouraged you, I'd love to hear from you. Share in the comments one area of your marriage you feel inspired to invest in working on and making a change. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this message with another wife who needs this encouragement. And I just want to remind you to watch my video on Abigail, whose spouse was terrible, even by the Bible's account, but she chose to take wise steps. She didn't just fold her hands and let things get destroyed. Watch that video and learn from it. And if you are ready for deeper support, visit my website www.lettinglightin.com and learn more about my coaching programs and book a free discovery call. Join my Facebook community, Christian Wives Thriving in Unequally Yoked Marriages, and also check out my Instagram pages where I share encouraging words and biblical wisdom every week, sometimes daily. So stay encouraged, stay faithful, and remember, God's plan for you is still abundance, as written in John 10:10. That has not changed. God bless you, and I'll see you next time.